Hello everybody, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel. You can see my little Bruno Pupple in the background there. He is hanging out with me today. I've got the other Pupple just, oh wait, which way do I lean? That way, the little black ball of fuzz in the back, that is Shayla. So welcome back to my weekly deck review. This is my decks that I've been working with this week, and I'll talk you through my experiences with those and the decks I'll be working with next week. I'll share that at the end. So this week, I have been working with my newly acquired Raven's Prophecy Tarot. So when my sister was in town a couple weeks ago, Bruno just left. He's like, I'm out here. She's talking too much. Anyways, I picked up this Raven's Prophecy Tarot by Maggie Stiefvater. And so I decided to work with it this week because it was the first week since I bought it that I was ready to pick a new deck. So that is perfect. I did trim this deck, so I trimmed off all of the borders. Mostly, I guess. To make the images on the front line up, you do have some border remnants on the back, and then of course I have this whole line across the bottom, which drives me a little bit batty, but I really wanted to keep the words on the bottom there, the titles, because these images are not necessarily quite as familiar as, they're not, this is definitely not a Rider-Waite clone in the sense that it doesn't really depict the same scenes. Now, I just lost my preview, sorry. I can't film unless I can see what's happening. This deck rather really has some interesting and unique takes on the meaning of the cards, and I think that the images do depict those meanings as intended very well. They depict them, yeah, they depict them well. That's the right grammar. So I do think this deck does a good job. I love this image of protecting those little flames. I really, really like that. I love this image of the High Priestess too. This deck does do a really good job of really conveying the messages and the meanings that the author wants to convey. I did find that the imagery is not my favorite. The artwork is not my favorite style. This image I love of the Hierophant, but it confused me because I think of the lamp as the hermit. When I read about it though, it made perfect sense, and Maggie talked about how this energy of the Hierophant, which I meant to show in my Hierophant video this week actually, and I forgot, but I did talk about it in Tarot Memoirs. But what's neat about this is the idea that you've got a set of traditions or of beliefs that are contained in such a way that they can easily be passed from hand to hand, which is a really interesting take on the energy of that card. Really enjoy that. But I did find that the images are more simple, and I do feel like it would be much better because it's a little bit pippish in the sense that, like, a lot of the minors, like here's the 10 of coins, for example, which is all roses. It just shows 10 all clustered together like a bouquet. Our 5 of swords. So I do think that I will enjoy working with this deck more when I'm a little more confident with the numerological meanings that I am building for myself in the Tarot de Marseille on Earth series that I'm doing here on YouTube, where we're working with Tom Benjamin's book, Tarot on Earth, and we're not discovering so much, but building our own associations with the numbers of the minors, of the pips. I think that this deck will be easier for me to work with once I've got that, because this imagery is not as hello, don't drop the cards on the floor. This imagery is not as familiar. So we've got 10 ravens for the 10 of cups. But again, it lines up with the guidebook. Here's another really pippish one, the 2 of coins. It lines up with the guidebook really, really, really well. Now, the guidebook, let's talk about that for a minute. Oop, throwing cards everywhere. I did go ahead and edge the side of the pages so that I've got majors in purple and then the minors in their elemental color as I associate them. That just makes it easier to find stuff when I'm flipping through. I love doing that. I did read this book cover to cover this week. It is an easy read, and the writing is clean. I don't know how else to say it. It's clean and it's clear. It's not overly cluttered or overly redundant. And the intro is really short. There's just a little bit about the theme of the deck. There is a little bit about what major and minor arcana and court cards are all about. And then she jumps into some spreads. There's a single card, a 3-card past, present, future, and a pretty simple 10-card reading as well. That's kind of, oops, wrong side. It's kind of Celtic Cross based in a way, but just a little bit different. And then she just jumps right into the meanings of the cards. So there's not a lot of meat in the intro, which I'm fine with because I don't really tend to read all of that section anyway. Depends on the deck. But I do think that she wrote this with the beginner in mind. And I think the whole deck is designed that way to give imagery that will hopefully help a beginning reader. That said, I don't know that I would recommend this to somebody specifically looking to learn tarot. I think that the draw for this for a beginner would be the idea that it's based or inspired by a novel series, which I believe starts with a book called The Raven Boys, which I have not read. I do think that the idea is that people that have read that series might pick this deck up by the same author, and she wanted the book to be written in a really accessible way, and I do think she did that very well. But for me, I think that this is a deck that, for now, I would say falls pretty flatly in my meh pile. Not because it's a bad deck. It is one that I think I will get more comfortable with, again, when I'm more comfortable with numerological meanings. But the artwork isn't my favorite style, and I didn't have enough to pull from. Like, I feel like I want some cards to be sparse. I think that can be really powerful, but when they all feel a bit sparse, then I feel like I don't have as much intuitive stuff to draw from. And I think what this deck really reminded me is that while I love to read based on the meaning of the cards, I also pull things from the image that I don't know I'm going to pull until I do it. So when I'm pulling live cards for people, or I'm doing a reading for a client or whatnot, yeah, I keep in mind what the original meaning of the card is, and that influences the reading, but also the artwork influences the meaning for me. And this didn't give me as much to work with. It still gives me something, but just not as much as I'm probably used to. So I think that was the big hesitation there. Overall, definitely a deck that you should check out if you're drawn to that style of artwork or that style of sparseness. If you want something that's going to be a little cleaner, less cluttered, and really help you hone in on a meeting, then that one will be really, really useful and offers a different take. So it's well worth exploring. Moving on, my Oracle deck of the week was also meh for me. So this was kind of a meh week, and I really found that because both my Oracle and Tarot deck of the week just weren't resonating with me as strongly as I wanted them to, I wasn't as quick to reach for my cards, even for daily polls or Instagram or any of that kind of stuff. And I don't know, I wasn't as inspired. But my Oracle deck is actually the beautiful Mystical Shaman Oracle by Alberto, Villoldo, Colette, Baron-Reid, and Marcela, Lobos. I love the quality of this deck. It's in like this beautiful box. The cards are this like really smooth, silky, matte, and the artwork of this deck is absolutely stunning. I could lose myself in this artwork, but there's a big but coming. As much as I love the artwork, these symbols do not resonate strongly enough with me for me to be able to read well with this deck. I have read the guidebook now cover to cover, and every card is rich with meaning. The guidebook has a lot to offer, I think, but I'm feeling something flat when I pull these cards. The artwork is stunning, but when I pull a card and it just says the giveaway, and with this stunning artwork, there's so much I could say about this if I read it intuitively, but it's not pulling me in the way that I thought it would. And I've worked with this deck before, but only as daily draws for myself using the guidebook, and for that it does a fine job because I can just pull the card and then read the guidebook. But I think more and more I'm wanting my decks to be, especially a deck like this, I felt like I really want to be able to use it more intuitively. And I'm starting to learn, I know this about myself already, but I think this really solidified it. The Oracle decks that I work with the best either have, instead of a title, like it says the serpent, instead of a title, I want a keyword, or a keyword in addition to the title, or a set of keywords, or a phrase, or something as a jumping off point, even if that's just to remind me what the meaning of the card is meant to be. Because some of these symbols might be great if you specifically have done some shamanic work. I don't know. I haven't done shamanic work. I've gone to some events that have a shamanic inspiration to them. But as much as I want to work with this, and this is the issue that I have with other decks I own in my collection, which I'll probably have to talk about at some point. But for example, the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit, also I'm having difficulty with because it just names the animal, and I don't know enough to go strictly off my intuition that way about animal symbols. I want to pull from their magic, but I also, just like the tarot, feel like I have to learn a lot before I can really use it effectively without relying on the guidebook. And I hate relying on the guidebook because that's not how I typically read. So that's a lot to say about that. But this artwork is, I love the style. I love the style of this artwork. I think I'm probably showing you the same cards again, but I can't get over how beautiful it is. But it's just not speaking to me the way that I want it to, and I feel like it should. So I think there's something about this that is just not my flavor. So I'm hesitant to give it up, but I probably would. This card is stunning. I probably would let this one go. Maybe in a trade or something. This one is, it's so pretty, but it's just, I don't think it's for me. And yeah, but I think part of the reason I've been able to firm up my opinion about that a little bit this week is because Colette Baron-Reid has also come out with a new deck that is animal based that is called the Spirit Animal Oracle, and I've watched a bunch of walkthroughs of that deck, and it looks like it's got a very similar art style, and this is an art style I adore. But it's animals, and it's animals with keywords. And even if the keywords aren't necessarily my favorite keywords, sometimes it's enough to give me that jumping off point and pull my own meaning from it. Because sometimes I'll read a keyword that says one thing and still pull something different. It's really hard to describe, but I feel like my brain needs that kickstart when I'm reading with oracles. With tarot, my kickstart is the meaning that I already know and understand and have integrated. But with oracles, because I'm not working with an existing system, I need that extra little oomph, and it just doesn't have it. So I think that knowing that the spirit animal has such a similar beautiful style of art but might speak to me more is really giving me the permission to not have to love this. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, very mad this week, which is disappointing, but it happens. And it's why I make sure that I always work with decks for at least a full week before I form an opinion. This is definitely my second or third week working with this deck now, but it was the first week where I tried to use it for readings and not just pull a simple card for my own personal message of the day. And more I'm wanting my oracle decks to be more versatile. So this one goes in my meh pile. Well, no pile. It's going to hang up on my wall until I figure out what I'm doing next with it, but yeah, I'm just a little bit like, aw, really? So I'm hoping this is going to be a better week, but I'm kind of excited. So I've got a couple of decks on the way that I don't know if they're going to show up in time for next week, which is the last week of October, but I'm hoping. And because I'm hoping, I'm going to jump ahead to the decks that I was going to work with Halloween week and work with them now, this upcoming week. So the decks that are on the way to me are the Bohemian Gothic and the Dark Mirror Oracle. So if those come in, as I'm hoping, sometime before the end of next week, then I can work with those Halloween week. And if not, I might be pulling in the Borderless, Deviant Moon, and something else. So we'll see. But for this week, I'm going to work with some fun stuff. So I am going to be working with the Zombie Tarot. Oh, there we go. The Zombie Tarot. So that is the guidebook, and I love that this is super portable and can come with me in its little bag because that's going to make it easier to have both with me. I have already read through this. The sections are very short. The guidebook is beautifully put together and totally matches the theme of the deck. So it's got this antique look to it, and it is cheeky AF. Like, this deck is hilarious. The book that I did keep, by the way, the really cool box that this deck comes with, but I have to hang it on my wall, so it gets a bag. This is one of the very first bags that Peggy ever made, so it's a little smaller than her usual, and the strings are a little shorter, so it's like a little mini bag in a way. Fits the deck perfectly, but it's got little rope and chain on it, so I thought it was kind of perfect for the Zombie Tarot. Anyways, I'm digressing. So I'll give you an example here in a minute after I've shown you some of the artwork, because what I'll do is I'll pull a card and I'll read you what the guidebook says so you get an idea. But this is like, these are the backings, and it's like this fortune teller zombie face. Pretty cool. This does have a little bit of shine, but not a lot, so it might look more reflective because of my lighting in here, but which is like mostly natural light. But anyway, so we have, what is this? This is the Six of Wands. The undead are victorious. I can't read the title, so hopefully you can. I hope it's focusing properly. The World. See if I can lean in. Oh yeah, so the suits are different. So the how is this done? I believe that the earth suit is hazards, and then the wands are still wands, cups are still cups, and then swords are still swords. So pentacles are hazards. So we have the page of hazards. We have the queen of hazards. So it's this really funky, like 1950s collage style. This is by the same I keep hitting things and I need to not, because I'm putting cards on my laptop, which is probably dumb. Anyways, so this one is the moon. The artwork is by the same person as, what's it called? The Housewives Tarot. So it's got that like old-timey, everybody's smiling no matter what's happening to them sort of vibe to it. I love Granny in this picture. Holy cow. The Queen of Swords with her gun and her... There's like a chopped up foot next to her. There's so much to read in these. They're so much fun. And it's not a type of artwork that I would otherwise be drawn to, but this deck, I actually really love this Two of Wands. Which path are you going to take? Which one will actually make sure you survive? So these two people are splitting up, and it's like one of them's going to get caught and probably one of them's going to escape. So hope you choose the right path. I love this King of Cups, totally immersed in the water. Love Justice. Clear there's literally a head on one side and a heart on the other because it's a zombie tarot and they can do that. But yeah, there's some really funky stuff happening in here. I'm going to stack these all up so that I can pull a card in a minute just for funsies. I picked this up for cheap from somebody locally here who was selling it on Craigslist or Facebook or something like that. I think I paid like $10 for this deck and it was in perfect condition. And they'd been listing it and trying to sell it for who knows how long before I came along. I'm not in love with the cardstock. It feels a little, it's really quite thick, so it's very sturdy, but it feels a little cardboardy. It's got kind of a weird, not as pleasing feel to it. I don't know how to describe it. And I do think this deck will probably chip up pretty badly. I'm hesitant to blacken the edges because the fronts are so beautifully aged looking and I don't want the black to wrap around and diminish that. So I'm probably going to leave this deck alone. Or if, oh, there's some decks on the floor. Or some cards on the floor. If I do anything to modify this deck or edge it, it would probably be with like some kind of sepia toned marker just to make it less white on the edges. I might do that with a really pale color. I have a marker in my collection called Sandstone that I've edged some decks with. It's got that kind of sepia tone to it, so I might do that. That might be nice. Maybe I'll do that this week. We will see. But otherwise, I'm probably going to leave it alone because I don't want anything black wrapping around to the front, and my markers tend to do that. So just to give you an example of the cheekiness of this artwork, or of the book, rather, I'm just going to pull a card here. Just a message for the week, and we'll see what comes up. So I got Death, which for this deck is pretty appropriate. Death. So I'm going to open the page in the guidebook, and then I'll hold the card back up. So let's see what it says. I mean, this is totally written tongue-in-cheek. Like, it's pretty great. The Devil. Why am I having trouble? Okay. I'm literally skipping the page. That's so funny. Okay. Here we go. So there's the card. New beginnings, transformation, and rebirth are the keywords. You just had to take this card literally, didn't you? Rather than seeing the death card as a bad omen, think of it as an opportunity. This is a time to shed some bad habits and abandon past restraints. A great transformation may be underway. Go ahead and bury those old relationships. Just be sure they don't crawl back out later. Like, this book and Melissa Sanova's Kitchen Table Tarot should be like best buddies. They have that same sort of cheeky, fun, straightforward tone to them. So it literally feels like somebody's just like calling you on your crap. So this will be really interesting and fun to work with this week. So I'm really excited. I will let you all know how it goes. Again, this artwork just for it's not a deck I would call beautiful, but somebody worked very hard to put these images together. So there is a lot to pull from. Like, check out this Ten of Cups. Like, they're having a great time, and then there's something like blowing up or on fire in the background. Like, how perfect is that? So there's a lot of interesting things I might be able to pull out of this. We will see what happens. And I might have to do a live stream and do some live card pulls. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Well, by the time you see this, it'll be probably after I would do that. But this video will go up on Sunday morning. I'm filming this on Saturday. So we will see. We will see, but it would be fun to do some live card pulls with this one and see what comes up. So I might do that. Oh, I didn't mention, and I should, I did do 1 or 2 client readings with the Raven's Prophecy Tarot, and those readings did go well. It was, I did a reading for somebody, and the cards came up, and they were very clear, and the reading went well. So there was that. I should compliment the deck as well. I think, yeah, it's funny how our tastes are, right? So for the Oracle deck this week, in this like really crummy, like rustic bag that is like tied with an old shoelace, and it's only like on one side, like this is like a really quick bag that I think Peggy made when she first got her sewing machine, just to test the like tightness of some thread and stuff, and I just threw whatever in it because I was pretty sure I wasn't keeping it. But it's perfect for this deck, actually. I have the Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle, and it also does have its own little mini red bag, which I've kept, and it's just kind of hanging out in the bag with it, just keep the cards from sliding around too much. So this deck, I've got some extra cards. So I have the little title card, Mildred's Payne Secret. This is the first edition, and I am fiending for the second, because the second, all the backings match up, and I do not have the patience to make the puzzle or whatever is supposed to go with this. So this deck comes with all kinds of little goodies. There's a little mini picture of Mildred Payne that's the size of the deck, so that's there. We have a photo of Mildred Payne with a little backing. I mean, the production, the creativity that, here's another photo of Mildred Payne with some stuff on the back. The creativity that Patrick puts into this deck is pretty incredible. Now I do also have, let's see, what else do I have? I have the Mildred's letter here, and also the, oh sorry, I have 2, because I have the original Secret Pocket Oracle, like sort of pamphlet with the meanings, and then I also have the letter, and this I think had to do with digging up. So there was a whole thing where we got a treasure map, and got this Gravedigger Society. I'm like the worst at reviewing this because I didn't follow it while it was happening. I actually got all this stuff kind of after the fact, but there was this really cool aged like letter and treasure map. Well, not treasure map, I suppose, but it had a little X marks the spot, and then we got a shovel card, and then after that there was a harp card, and the shovel card I did get, but the harp card I've only recently asked about. So they've said that they're sending it to me, and we will see. Our mail here has been really weird lately, but on to the cards. So this is one of those little oracles that is really, I think, meant for divination, not necessarily for like, let's see where I'm going to put them, not necessarily for like daily insight. I think I'm going to use this more Lenormand style. I have used it before, but it's so perfect for this time of the year. And if the Dark Mirror Oracle does not come in, it was a bit delayed by the supplier. I ordered it from Book Depository, and they just gave me this really wide spread of delivery dates with no tracking number. It's supposed to be to me before the 31st, but we shall see. Anyway, if that doesn't come in, I might just pull this in next week as well and continue to work with it. I might use these as clarifiers to tarot. I might use these in small spreads of their own, or little 9-card spreads like I would with Lenormand. We will see. But these are really straightforward and really easy to pull your own meanings out of, so I don't feel like I'd be reliant on a guidebook. So yeah, I'm kind of excited and interested to work with that. So we shall see. We shall see. There's some difficult cards in here that I don't know if I would ultimately work with, but we'll see. I think I'll probably keep it. But this alongside zombie, I think, is going to be pretty fun. So I might have to come up with like a new like zombie and Mildred spread just to have like maybe like a little, yeah, I don't know. I'm picturing it in my head, but I haven't like firmed up the idea yet. So if I come up with that, I will share it with you sometime this week. So I'm excited to be working with those guys. Yeah, so I guess we will see. I will let you all know how it goes at the end of this week. So next Sunday, I will share what my thoughts were on working with both of these decks and what my experiences were and how I see myself using them and all of that good stuff. What's nice is that these are both reading light decks. Last week I had 2 guidebooks I really wanted to read, so I did read the full Mystical Shaman Oracle guidebook, and I did read the full Raven's Prophecy guidebook. This week there's no guidebooks to read, so I get to just play, and that'll be really fun. I'm still working with the same reading cloth, by the way, which is this adorable, really amazing witchy one that Peggy made. that's got all these really cool like things about Salem, and yeah. And then it's got this on the back. So that is still the one I'm going to work with probably until after Halloween is over, and then I'll rotate something else in. But yeah, that is what I'm working with this week. I ended up making a pretty long video, but there you go. So I look forward to seeing you all again in next week's deck review video, weekly decks video, and I hope you all have a great day. Talk to you all very soon. Bye!